bikes, these are the only ones that should be called the Tucker Torpedo. When Tremulous here came out of the Air Force, he put the final design on it. And from then on, they were just going to call it Tucker 48, thinking the word torpedo wasn't good after World War II. And it did have a, pardon me, 589 cubic inch engine. They did try a fuel injection. Had to abandon and go to carburetors. And this is the second test chassis they built. They didn't intend to put a body on it. They built it strictly to try to work out the mechanical problems. And of course, it's all four-wheel independent suspension. It's all rubber. There's no springs on a Tucker. The Tin Goose, which was totally handmade, and the two test chassis had 13-inch mag wheels. And the tires had to be made special for them, so they marked rejects on the back, because there was no such tire size as 713 back in those days. And on the Tin Goose, which I just found out fairly recent, that actually had the Cammack brake on it.
Oh, it did?
Which was the one that he wanted to put on the production cars.
Huh.
These here have airplane type disc brakes. They would not have worked on a car. I presume number one chassis and this one. I don't know just why they put them on, but maybe it was easier to get that material at the time.
Right.
But anyway, they wouldn't have worked on a car. He also has the kingpins dead center of your front tires, so you didn't get a tug to the left or right in the event of a blowout. And the way these suspension arms are, these front tires stay absolutely flat on the ground in a turn. I'm sure you'll see. Notice how wheels cock in movies and all. These stay absolutely flat on the ground. So you always have 100% of the rubber on the ground. And on the Tin Goose, which they put the body on, these water pipes ran inside the frame, because of course the body had to come down on the frame.
But there was talk about tubeless tires. Did he ever use a tubeless tire?
Wanted.
He wanted, but he never did.
In fact, I read somewhere where every one of them actually left the plant without tubes.
Oh, really?
But they had to take them back in. The wheels weren't right to hold the tubeless tire.
They had perfected that.
Yeah. It's what I have read about it. And as I said, these water pipes ran inside the frame because, of course, on the Tin Goose, which was totally handmade, they put a body on. And on the first 25 cars, there was another beam across here, and the gas tank was under the rear seat. So it was quite well protected by the frame all the way around. And this is that big 589 that Ben Parsons designed for him. It's a 6-cylinder opposed with the torque converters direct to the wheels. So there's no transmission, no rear end. And back in those days you had a lot of gravel roads, and sometimes a chunk of gravel could fly up and crack the oil pan. And unless you were paying attention to the oil pressure gauge, you burnt the engine up. Tucker wanted an engine you couldn't burn up. Oil totally works these valves. So if you lose your oil, the valve stopped, the engine stopped, would have stopped. And over here,
built-in safety.
Pardon?
Kind of built-in safety feature.
Yeah. And over here is one hit off of it. There was a 5-inch bore and a 5-inch stroke. And how they came up with this thing. Of course, he got the big plant in Chicago that built the B-29 engines. The B-29 engines had a 5x5.
Really?
And Tucker was trying to utilize some of the equipment in the plant. And that's how they came up with this 589.
Never knew that.
I didn't either.
And as I said, that was built in 1947. This is a 1947 Cadillac Fleetwood chassis. I got this to show what cars were, what Tucker's trying to do. And of course it does not have independent suspension. Your gas tank's hanging out in the rear. You do not have the wraparound frame to protect the passengers. Your kingpins are on the inside of the front wheels. And it's what the front wheels turn on. And in many cases, we have to blow out in this tire to jerk you over onto the oncoming track. Of course, that one will jerk you off the road. This engine sits on top of the frame, tuckers down between the frame. This weighs about 910 pounds. Transmission is about 210. That whole assembly was 495 pounds. And this is the one that they, in the early propaganda, they thought would give you 28 to 30 miles a gallon. Because when this engine was turning 1800 RPM, the car should have been doing 100 miles an hour. So they figured it'd be idling most of the time. It should be steel. The vandals broke this up pretty bad. And my brother replaced it with copper. They're much easier to work with than steel.
Yeah.
So anyway, but these are steel here. See that much?
Oh, yeah.
Because I think it was 1,800 pounds per square inch. Oil. Be surprised if this wouldn't have been a temperature game instead of you know.
Yeah, there's another one right here on the other side.
Right. Yeah. Because they were constantly checking on this thing, and of course, that's really what delayed Tucker from getting started. So then they finally came across the helicopter engine. And of course, this is how it was in the helicopter. With the transmission going up to your blade. Tucker bought 4 of these engines from a dealer in Syracuse, New York, and took them to his machine shop in Ypsilanti, Michigan. This is the very first engine they converted to go into the car.
Oh, this is the actual engine?
Uh-huh.
Really?
And by laying it down instead of being upright, and they made it water cooled instead of air cooled. Several mistakes on it. This was the original oil filler. When it went in the car, it was against the firewall. So they had to add that one. Looks like they were still thinking about fuel injection. There are no breathers for the valve covers. There's no rubber for the vibration of the water pump. The biggest mistake, they moved the fan backwards. That fan's bringing the air this way. It should have been blowing it out the rear of the car. And you can't turn it right. It's made backwards.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah, right.
And then this is the 4th engine of the first 4 we bought. They added the breather, 1 oil filler, drop throttle fuel injection, rubber for the vibration of the water pump. Fan was still backwards. Well, they were rushing so on all this stuff, trying to get it out for the dealers.
Right.
And actually, these are identical to the helicopter engine. Your crankshaft, connecting rods, and pistons are identical to what's in the helicopter engine. So then, of course, he had to get a transmission and rear end. And he went to the old 36, 37 Cord, which was front engine, front wheel drive.
Right.
They were able to convert it and use it. This is a Cord transmission, and that's a Cord bell housing down there. But these, I think the Cord's about 125 horsepower. These are 166, and they're 372 pounds of torque. So they were tearing up the Cord transmissions. So then he built the Y1 transmission. And the Cords would look very much like this, but this looked very much like the Cord. So what he did here, he added an inch to the gearbox. This is an inch longer than that box back there, and put in thicker gears. And of course it's vacuum electric. When you move the little lever on the steering column, it tells one of these solenoids which gear you want. And when you start to let up the clutch, the vacuum takes over and does the shifting. Okay? Wow. And this was his automatic, known by as Cammack. And that torque converter belongs in here. As you see, this half the bell has is correct for you. This half is for the Y1 of the Cord, which is smaller. So I couldn't put it in, I had to put it on the next engine. The amazing thing with this thing, there are only 29 major parts in it. And it looks massive and heavy, but this here is the lid off of there. Yeah.
Is it aluminum?
Huh?
Aluminum?
I think it's got some holes. Or maybe that's just paint.
Just connected.
Yeah. Wow.
And
It's lightweight.
yeah.
Do it.
And the amazing thing with this thing, the second you touch that accelerator, it moved out immediately. It moved out faster than your hydromatics. And of course your hydromatic was your best automatic transmission of that period. But this thing moved out faster. And then this is the only air-cooled engine that was made for the Tucker. And how this came about, I guess you're familiar with the old Franklin Automobile Company, which built the air-cooled engines. When they started getting in financial problems back in the late 30s, the top engineers left Franklin, which was in downtown Syracuse, New York, and moved down to Liverpool, which is a stone's throw away. And they started building small air-cooled industrial engines and also small air-cooled truck engines. Then Sikorsky came in and said, why don't you build aircraft and helicopters? This, I might as well mention, Warren Rice designed that transmission point, who designed the Buick Dynaflow. And the first ones were known as the R1. R for Rice, #1. This is R1-2, and that's also what is in my car. The final one would have been the R3, because on these here, you have to shut the engine off to put it in forward or reverse, because of course the transmission connects right to the crankshaft, and so you would grind it trying to go into reverse or neutral. Now you can go from reverse to neutral or reverse to neutral with no problem. But if you were to try to get back in, that gear is determined, and so back. And the R3, we put it on punching. And I think it came across one drawing so far of the R3 transmission. And this I just acquired, I guess, maybe it's been 8 months ago now. And the person I bought it from said it was an aircraft. I know it's automotive now because it has water jacking, and it's an incomplete engine.